Thanks for joining us for Season 8 of the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded Strategic share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy.
And thanks for that kind introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. And together, we're the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, and capital. And I got to tell you, Jimmy, I am exhausted. We just got back from FS Tech in Dallas, Texas. It was the biggest show FS Tech has ever thrown. Over 800 million operators were at the show.
I think you might have added a word in there by mistake. I think it was 800 operators.
Oh, I thought it was 800 million. Are you sure? Oh, hey, listen, you're finance guy. I'm not going to argue.
Leave the numbers to me.
Jimmy, I saw a lot of people, and I was counting. I'm telling you, I saw 800 million. But all I know, it was a crazy show. It was busy. Everyone was happy to be out. A lot of operators, a lot of tech, a lot of interesting stuff. And Jimmy, now we're in Indy. It just doesn't stop. We're at Fast Casual Summit in Indy. I love Indy. Actually, I don't love Indy that much because the last time I was in Indy, Jimmy, the Jets lost to the Colts in the playoffs. That was a long time ago, but I'm a Jet fan, and, it was a playoff game. But that was the last time. We were together, by the way.
I was there. I was with you, Shats.
You were there. Actually, you got me White Castle burgers late night. Thank you, Jimmy. Anyway, great to be here.
Stadium. Great stadium.
I got to tell you, and Jimmy, it is so great to be here, and we are so fortunate to have Season 8. We've had a lot of great guests, but today we have a very special guest. Let's take it away, Jimmy, because it's a great episode.
Yes, we're going to have a good time today. Actually, we got at least a double threat here because not only do we have a restaurant guy, a real hospitality guy, we also got a guy that's embracing tech with the kind of conviction that we are, and blazing trails. All right, we are very excited. Our guest today is our friend, Mr. Jeff Chandler, CEO and president of Hopdoddy Burger and HiBar Hospitality Group. By the way, one of the best names of any restaurant group that I think we've ever dealt with, Hopdaddy and the HiBar. I love it. Jeff, welcome to the podcast. Hopdoddy.
Yeah, I thought you said Hopdaddy. You said Hopdaddy.
No, we had Big Daddy, and he's Hopdoddy. By the way, Big Daddy's not open right now, so that's a check in Jeff's box. Check Hopdoddy, and right now, not to check in Big Daddy. We'll work on that. Anyway, let's get Jeff into the podcast before he yells at his media team and his marketing team.
For both of you, he's like, never again.
These guys. All right, Jeff, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for letting us have our little banner. So please give a little introduction to yourself, and of course, the elevator pitch on Hopdoddy and HiBar.
Yeah. Hey, look, great guys to be here. Appreciate it. And look, quite frankly, I don't care what you call us, as long as you call us the best burger place you've ever been to.
Best burger place I've ever been to.
Best burger place I've ever been to.
That's what we aspire to do. Hopdoddy plays in the better burger space. We look to be disruptive and really rethinking, reshaping kind of what a better burger joint looks like, acts like, and what that experience is. Based out of Austin, Texas, we currently have 50 locations, really from coast to coast, based out of Austin, Texas.
That's awesome. Listen, I am so excited to have you here. We got a chance to break bread together in New York City a few months back with some friends at a great Korean barbecue place, if I remember.
The place was great.
Yeah, we had a great time there. But listen, before we take a deeper dive, let's really talk a little bit about Jeff Chandler. And I mean, you were a restaurant guy, much like myself. Jimmy was a bartender. I was a bartender, got into restaurants. Can you share a little bit for our listeners before we take a deep dive into everything else going on? Because there's a lot. How'd you get into hospitality?
Jeff, this is Shatsy's Fraser Crane moment. He wants you to know he's listening.
Yeah. And there's no charge for the first 30 minutes. And if you like what you hear, then the bill comes.
There you go. Look, I grew up in the business. My dad was a tavern owner. And growing up, if I wanted to spend time with my dad, that meant kind of sometimes early mornings and weekends hanging out at the tavern, picking quarters out of booth seats and cleaning the grill and cleaning beer lines and emptying pool tables. We were in Tacoma, Washington, up in the corner of the U.S., and so I grew up in the business. And I fell in love with it at an early age. And after graduating from college, I thought I needed to go work on Wall Street for a while, and that lasted all but 6 months. And quite frankly, I missed the people side of the business. And so after that, I went back and dove into the business, worked with my father in the tavern business, and ultimately helped him elevate that and translate kind of what the pub business was. And we elevated up into craft brewing and got into craft brewing back in the early 90s.
I love it, and I love that the hospitality industry is in your blood. And by the way,
I love that he went into banking and he's like, "This is terrible. I got to get back into hospitality."
I like it. Like,
Jimmy, does that sound familiar, Jimmy?
I want to hang with my dad. I got to go hang at the bar.
Sound familiar, Jimbo? Jimbo was a finance guy.
I left the bartending business. Had a short stint of 30 years on Wall Street, and I'm back, baby. Here I am.
Like the Godfather, man. They took you back, or whatever that line is.
Took me back.
It gets in your blood.
I want to start off a little bit with a classic hospitality joke. A guy walks into a bar, and ouch, he walked into a bar. In the spirit of that pathetic joke, I want to continue his theme, at least as it comes to branded. I like to say that a finance guy and a restaurant guy walked into a bar, but let's stick with, I love that Hopdoddy's, the origin story is a guy, a Chuck, and two Larrys walk into a bar. Jeff, can you share how these four friends set out to create the new standard for the better burger bar, and what makes Hopdoddy different?
Yeah, look, these guys, these four entrepreneurials, amazing guys. There's two kind of paternal, I will call them, founders, Guy and Larry. These guys are the same guys that brought Z Tejas to life back in the days. They created Eddie V's. They're really behind some of the best restaurants in Austin, Texas today. And they met Chuck and Larry Perdido while they were at Z Tejas. And they intentionally set out to create something different, something disruptive. And I'll really give Larry Foles a lot of credit. Larry is a remarkable restaurateur. He is extraordinarily creative. He is disruptive in just the way he thinks. And they set out to really kind of reshape what a burger was and how it was prepared. And they found a place on South Congress, and they threw some stuff at it. And the first 3 months, they changed everything about it. I mean, their original idea was turned upside down just through trial and error before it really, really stuck. And these guys are still, great restaurateurs today. They're still creating restaurants, all four of them. And they still remain good friends. And the common bond really between all of them today is Hopdoddy. So what makes Hopdoddy different? I think it's that we really are open-minded to what a burger is. Most people just think it's a bun and meat and some toppings. And we look at it as a vessel for flavors. Anything that we can grind, grill, we're going to make a burger out of it. And so we've done some pretty cool creative things with different proteins. We have butcher shops in our restaurants where we grind our own proteins. And so it really affords us the ability to rethink what a burger is. And we have fun with it. And I think that as our loyal raving fans will attest to, they never know what's going to come next in terms of our burger of the month or what we just might, grind up and put in a burger.
I love it. I mean, I got to tell you, and I think the key there is you're having fun. And that's hospitality, and that's what it's all about, and having a good time. You guys are crushing it, so you're doing something right. Hey, listen, changing gears a little bit. I mean, we started this podcast literally our first episode was right at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, we had to change our script, change our guests, change our whole theme because the pandemic hit and all the restaurants were basically shut down, and obviously off premise. Though it was a big part of a lot of people's business, it wasn't what we all what came to be. So now we're out of the pandemic, and off premise was growing, but now it's really a big part of the business. It's not changing, and it's continuing to grow. Can you share what you guys over at Hopdoddy and HiBar Hospitality are doing to account for the continued spike and love for off premise dining, and some tips and recommendations for some operators out there who still might be struggling with the reality that off-premise is here to stay. It's not going away.
Yeah, that's right, Shatsy. I mean, look, like you and many others out there, we all had to pivot, and we all had to figure out, first how to survive, And then secondarily, at least in our case, it's like, okay, well, we're surviving now. How do we thrive, and how do we really use this as our slingshot moment to get ahead of the pack? And that's how we thought about it. I mean, when the pandemic first came down, we started closing restaurants, and we really thought, okay, let's take a look at where we sell a lot of third-party delivery, because we thought our business would have to be based off third-party delivery only. And so we shut actually half of our restaurants down, the one that didn't have really big penetration in third-party delivery. And what we learned is that the restaurants that we kept open, we saw this huge, massive spike in takeout, right? Our through our own channels. It wasn't third-party delivery, and it kind of caught us off guard. We weren't prepared for that. And so slowly over time, we learned how to further increase sales through our own channels, whether it was curbside pickup or to go, and third party. And so made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we really empowered our general managers back then. It's like, gosh, let us know how we can help you, but we're all in this together. And we kind of gave them carte blanche authority to change it on the spot. Or if something's working better, whether it's packaging, staging, how you ran curbside, how you communicated with the guests, like, go for it, right? And then report back to us on how it's going. And I think back at the time we had maybe 20 restaurants open. And so we learned a lot through that. And I can share some of the things that we learned. But what we saw quickly is that we could be profitable. We could take care of the guest in a meaningful, unique way that they really appreciated. And all at the same time, taking care of our team members. I mean, that was a big focus for us way back when is, how do we get more of our team members back to work? We had furloughed half our company. How do we get them back in working? And so between getting them back to work and serving the guest in a meaningful way, we engineered how to do that. And it led us to opening and back up all of our restaurants. And, pre-pandemic, we were maybe 12% of our business was off premise.
Wait for it, Jimmy.
So today,
yes,
that number is over 40% of our business. So
you see that? You see that?
See what happened there?
Is that breaking news, Jeff? Can I report that? Is that breaking news?
That is breaking news, and that is.
You just made Shatsy's day.
We're just glad that it's down from 100%, right? Because back in the day, Hopdoddy is a pretty experiential brand, right? Mm-hmm. We have full bars in our restaurants. We are a fast casual concept.
You're a tavern guy, man. How could you not have a bar?
Absolutely. And we sell a ton of craft beer and a ton of margaritas. And so, we think Hopdoddy still to this day is best enjoyed in person, right? To let that hospitality kick in, to enjoy a cold margarita or cold draft beer, with your burger when it's prepared fresh, our fresh cut fries right there. It's always better on premise. But people and the public and our guests demanded, they wanted the convenience or the safety back then of having it, curbside in a way that was still a great experience.
And today, I think it's Disney Plus, Netflix, and Hulu, man, on an 85-inch Samsung TV, baby.
And a Hopdoddy burger. And a
Hopdoddy burger and a craft beer out of my fridge.
First of all, as you were speaking, Shatsy, tell me, could I patent this? Could I trademark the following phrase? Necessity is the mother of all innovation.
Yes, you can.
I don't think I can.
I spoke to our attorneys just now.
I think that's out there. I think it's out there. But I love, Jeff, that you shared that, when the pandemic hit, you had to pivot, you had to adjust. And one of the things I love about the industry is how fast we understand that we do need to make that happen. I also love that you recognize that while people think of off-prem and they naturally default to delivery, you guys found, and Branded really agrees, and we positioned our off-premise investment vertical, the importance of pickup and a very good pickup takeaway offering is critical. And you get now your guests, while they're taking the food away from your store, they still get to taste that experience by walking in, feeling the tavern, getting that beer, getting that drink, picking up their food, and they feel a connection. And look, a little company that, most of our listeners haven't heard of, this little company named Domino's, they also decided that pickup is pretty good for them because solving last mile is a challenge. So they gave their guests the $3 off. Come pick up your own pizza. So again, I think the pickup trend is here to stay. But listen,
you're
sometimes
right.
chefs and I trade off. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, look, our concept was really initially baked and thrived in this quality, uniqueness, and variety. Like those were our brand pillars that differentiated us from the plethora of better burger players out there. We learned during the pandemic that consumers, our guests, demanded more convenience. Okay,
Yep.
we're fast casual, but we're not necessarily pre-pandemic. We weren't necessarily fast. We had polished casual or fine casual quality food in a fast casual environment, and so the guest dictated that it was more convenient, and so we had to learn how to be more convenient for our guests, and that's still a process that goes on today. We're not perfect by any stretch, but how do you experience our burger, shake, and fries or a margarita at home, right in front of your big screen, watching Hulu and Netflix and whatever? How do you do that with the same quality experience that's craveable? Last time I checked, burgers and fries and shakes really don't travel that well, right? It's not like Chinese food or pizza or some other food. It travels horribly. And so, how do we engineer it for two things? One, to make the quality better 30 minutes later. Like we think about that. We obsess over that today. And secondarily, how do we give the optics that it's still a really cool, fun experience? My team will laugh at me when I say, I want the adult happy meal, right? I want when we get our food delivered and you're opening it up 30 minutes later, I want you to be excited like you were when you were a kid to get that happy meal. Packaging, everything included, maybe a little prize,
Yeah.
And they laughed, but
love a
we
prize.
have to think in that mindset today.
Yeah, by the way, we keep talking about Hulu and Netflix. Shatsy and his wife call that babysitters for his kids. That's the babysitter. he turns on Hulu with the kids, entertain yourself. Listen, Shats and I sometimes play off one another, good cop, bad cop. So Shatsy's, talking about the light at the end of the tunnel and coming out of COVID and the pent up demand. And again, I'm in that camp. So I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I don't want to start barricading up that tunnel that Shatsy was describing. But we do have another headwind coming. And we're straight shooters. We got to say, we got to call the good, the bad, and the otherwise. But we think the industry, certainly there's a threat of a recession, and a looming recession. Can you share any thoughts and maybe even advice for operators on how, once again, to adapt to the fast-changing economic landscape?
Yeah, Jimmy, you're absolutely right. I think we're already there. I think we're already.
The pandemic wasn't hard enough, right, Jeff?
Yeah, exactly. Bring it on. One of the things that the pandemic taught us, and one of the things we really embraced during that, was this notion of resiliency. And how do we teach, coach, encourage, support, nurture resiliency in our team members? And that was a big pivot for us, right? I talked about empowering our general managers to make decisions on the spot and how we can help them. We're still that way today, but we've focused on resiliency. And I think that is so important today, as whether it was the pandemic, whether it was the protests and the riots, whether it was the great resignation that our industry faced over the past year, and now going into a recession with rapid inflation and cost pressures, we just focus on being resilient and telling and teaching and training our people to be resilient. There's a lot of things that we do to support that, in and around mental health. That has become a much bigger issue today, and we recognize that, and we want our people to be in really great positions so they can tackle what's next and what's around the corner. And we kind of take an attitude like, bring it on. We're ready. This is like, for us, racing in the rain. Others might, veer off course and crash because the road's wet. We think we've gained a proficiency and a skill set and a passion for racing in the rain. So bring it on.
I love it. And yeah, operators, we are scrappy. The pandemic proved one thing. Restaurant folks are scrappy. We know how to get it done, man. Listen, great segue into changing gears a little bit. Traveling as much as we do, I recognize that if I ask someone on an airplane how much you're paying for that seat, every single person will be paying something different based on probably when they booked their flight. If you're going to a hotel room and I'm sitting at a bar, or going to a hotel and I'm sitting at a bar and I ask everybody what they paid, I'll bet you everyone is paying a different price. Some people wanted a view of the ocean. Some people want a view. They don't want the ocean. They want a low floor looking out into an alleyway, whatever it is. Point I'm getting at is pricing, dynamic pricing. I know when it's here in the city, when when it rains or snows and you try and get a car service like an Uber or Lyft, the prices change accordingly. So dynamic pricing is something that we've seen in many industries for a long time. The big question to you is, and customers have adapted. They've adapted to it. They've recognized that dynamic pricing is there. I pay different. Everyone pays different based on times of year, et cetera. Question to you is, do you think when it comes to restaurants, will dynamic pricing have a seat at the table? Pun intended. Will someone pay a different price based on time of day, based on if it's snowing out, or will they want a better table on Saturday? What do you think?
Yeah, Shotzi, I'm very intrigued by this question. It's something that we've talked about for a long time. I think it's fascinating. To your point, it's prevalent in other industries. Being a kind of a capitalist and looking at a free market and how people pivot and adjust and how the market demands shift, I think quite frankly, I support it. I like that notion. I don't want Hopdoddy to be the first company that charts that path. We're going to be good to jump on as it becomes popularized. I think that the old notion of once you take price, you never come down. I mean, that's the adage I've grown up with my entire career, 30 years, right? It's you never take prices down. Tell me one company that is successful at taking their price down. I mean, we ask that question all the time. Can we grow traffic by 30% if we take price down 10%? I don't know. I think it'll happen. I think it's inevitable it will happen. I think we're starting to see it in little pockets already. I know we see it on third-party delivery platforms and that type of thing. So I'm open to it.
But what's interesting, Jeff, as a tavern guy, and Jimmy and I as bar guys, it seems like we've kind of dabbled in dynamic pricing in restaurants over the years, but it was kind of like it was always happy hour. What's happy hour? Happy hour is like dynamic price. What is it? It's down. It's half price from 4 to 7. We don't have a lot of customers. Let's make it dynamic. We'll bring the price down to try and get some people in. So we've had it. It wasn't really a very it wasn't a well thought about plan, because it was just everything is half price from 4 to 7 every day, or just Monday through Friday. So we've kind of had a little bit, but like you just said, it was down. It wasn't, well, if I'm really busy on Saturday, maybe that beer should be $8, and Monday I'm not so busy, maybe it should just be $5.
Right.
Jeff, first I want to say that Schatz and I were both bartenders. He was by far the more popular bartender.
But I want to be very clear. Dynamic pricing it was, Jimmy.
Yeah, he had the best dynamic pricing. He couldn't figure out how to serve customers, serve guests, and run the register. So he basically would just give you your drinks, and he'd say, but we'll figure it out later.
Get me later.
Get me later. So he was very. I want to order from Shadzi, not from Jimmy. But anyway, I will simply say on the dynamic pricing issue, I think it's going to be a really interesting journey. I think the relationship that this industry has with its customers is truly unique and special. So much so, we don't call them customers, we call them guests. And I think we're going to have to find the roadmap forward to do it in a high integrity, communicative, transparent manner. I think our guests will value, they'll accept us doing these things if they understand it and it's clear, and they don't feel we're trying to, pull one over on them. That is a theme that I'm going to put forward. We're going to figure it out, because a lot of folks we're working with, Jeff, on the tech side are trying to figure out how to do that for the benefit of operators. And the operators are saying it, but it's got to be done transparently, and it's got to have integrity.
I agree 100%. And I would love to see it start out with third-party delivery platforms. Yep. I think that would be the logical place. I mean, I know that's what throws the wrench in our spoke when we're cruising really great on a Friday night, and all of a sudden we get hit with, we call it bun count. Our bun count will go from 30 to 180, within minutes if that third-party delivery platform's activated. Well,
I like that
supply
count.
And demand. I think if we could moderate that on third-party delivery, that would be a great place for our industry to start. And then, we could look at doing it on premise as well. But I like it from a third party delivery. I like it from a, everything off premise. I like the notion of dynamic pricing. On premise, I think be open minded, but I think we'd have to see how it works off premise first.
Really cool. No, I think it's a hot topic. Here's another hot topic. First of all, I write. Brandon, the team writes a weekend newsletter. It's a short little email that takes about 45 minutes to an hour to read. Now, I'm somewhat joking. This weekend, we wrote about really about robotics and automation, and the move into that segment. And we actually titled the piece "The Robots Are Coming." And I want to let Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger know that cease and desist letter was unnecessary. Okay, I borrowed a picture from Google, and I don't think you had to get mad about it, Mr. Schwarzenegger. But while we do believe that RAS, RAAS, robots as a service, is going to be a next big thing for this industry, um, you know. I guess I want to highlight that we still feel that there's a yearning for, let's call it, human hospitality. And I know that's something that's really important to you and your company, the experiential side, the human side. So, Jeff, my question is, what does human hospitality look like, for you and currently, and in a world where we're going to be blending and mixing human hospitality with robotic hospitality, how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, look, I think this is a really fun topic to talk about because I think innovation is happening very, very rapidly, and every concept, every brand has to understand, what does human hospitality look like for them? Where are those magical touch points that only humans can deliver upon that are going to make that experience unique and memorable? And it has to be in alignment with your brand, and obviously your concept has to be able to pull that off. You're right. We talk all the time about reducing our dependency on human labor. I think that's just an evolutionary necessity for us as the labor market is tight. It's volatile. We've seen through the Great Resignation, that it's hard to find great quality team members that'll work in that whole financial equation of it. So I just think it's up to every brand. How we look at it is, we know that there's 5 critical key touch points in the guest experience, and we want humans at the center of that. Everything else, if it can improve quality, it can improve consistency, if it can improve the efficiency of how we do it, we are completely open-minded to what that looks like. And in our space, like in the burger space, until Flippy gets perfected, we're still going to have people, cooking burgers to order. So I'm excited to see that evolutionary path and how it unfolds. I think we're going to be very open-minded, as long as we can remain those 5 critical touch points of human hospitality in our brand.
That's awesome.
I'm still excited about bun count.
Bun count.
We manage bun count aggressively.
Yeah. Can I steal that? Do I have to footnote you?
Give Jeff a shout out when you use the bun count. Okay. By the way, Jeff's not kidding. He's doing he'll be talking bun count for the next 48 hours. Then he'll get distracted and move on to something else.
It's actually buns in the bucket, right? So we slice our buns to order. They're fresh baked buns. We slice them right before we toast them. And so, anytime if you look down in the person doing the bun toasting will actually look up at the screen to see how many burgers we've got ordered, and they will put all these buns in the bucket. So that's our bun
buns in the bucket. I like it.
Someone's getting hungry.
Yeah.
and that someone's me. Listen, Schatz and I started this podcast because we very much enjoy bringing industry leaders and we like talking. But we learned along the way that sometimes our guests have a question or two for us. So let's kick off talking back. We invite our guests to ask us a question. And Jeff, as Schatz and I like to say, nothing is off the table.
Yeah, look, I'm curious to see. You guys talk to a lot of interesting people. You see a lot of interesting things. I think the way that you look at things are very interesting. What, in your opinion, is the most interesting, positive dynamic that you see in our industry today? From talking with people, who's doing something truly disruptive and innovative?
Good. By the way, that's one of my favorite questions because that really, I get to say, Shatsy, our restaurant guy, who do you think is doing the interesting stuff?
Well, I think, and
then I'll give an answer after you, and it'll be better, but that's besides the point.
No, I think what comes to mind right now was just that we were just talking about, and it wasn't on the restaurant concept side as much as it was on the robotic side. And I just think you brought up Flippy. And I think when I think about what those guys what Buck Jordan and the team at Wavemaker are doing with the Chippy and the Flippy, and I think there's one for a fry. I don't know what that one is. but there's a fry thing. And I think that those guys are doing some really innovative stuff. And I think that it's just, as you said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's just so early in this phase of robotics. And we've seen it in so many other industries. I always like to bring up that I don't believe outside of maybe a Maserati, cars are built by hand anymore. I mean, there's robots building those. And I mean, way back when, I mean, computers and things like that, someone was putting that stuff together by hand. I mean, there's nobody doing any of that stuff. It's all automated today. So I think it's coming. So I just, that's what first came to my mind, was those guys are just doing some really innovative things. And I think it's changing the landscape and the industry for the better, because it's really solving problems. I think redeploying human capital into areas that are more that will help increase sales and drive business and sales is better. So just flipping a burger is really not helping Hopdoddy as much as if that same person could be engaging with customers and really making it a better experience. So that's what I think about right off the top of my head. Jimmy will have a much better answer, but that was mine.
Yeah, careful, Shatch. You could piss off Jeff's partner Larry and his brother Larry. You could make them you could make those guys upset. No,
I'm not going to be right for everybody right now, but it's common.
I like it. Listen, actually, Jeff, I think it's a really good question, and the way I would answer it is the following. There are two things that I'm macro to micro enjoying tremendously in this environment right now. One, I'm really loving emerging brands. I'm loving emerging restaurant groups. I love the differentiation. I love how they're approaching it, and we're having a lot of fun. And one of the reasons we enjoy them, not just what they're doing for their guests in the industry, but they're not so set in their ways. They're open to new tech ideas and innovative ideas. And they're if you've got thousands of stores, changing one thing in your tech stack is a monumental undertaking. And it limits you. But if you're an emerging brand, and we work with many, we love that we get to almost create a bespoke and create a tech stack that really is going to deliver value. So that's a lot of fun. Love the emerging brands. And on the tech side, I guess I'd just say, again, macro to micro, there's an awareness that we've been antiquated. We've got to embrace it. And I think with respect to automation and robotics, I think we can maybe get a lot of the chores outside, away from the humans, and get those to automation, and let the human capital be far more about guest ambassadorship and success oriented, enjoyment oriented, and really create the better experience for our guests. And there's a lot of tech that can blend very well with the human capital. And that's something that I'm really excited to see. Our first investment was in a self-pouring beverage solution. We saved on labor, we saved on giveaways, and saved on theft. Yep. But what was amazing for this, and I'm not going to call it simple, but talk about low-hanging automation. Let the guests serve themselves the beverage of their choice, alcohol, non-alcohol, wines, you name it. They thanked us for giving them a unique experience of serving themselves, of hanging out by the beer wall or the wine wall or the drink wall, and mixing and chatting with customers and other guests about what they like, trying things. So we saved money, we made more money, and the guests thanked us for implementing automation that created a new experience. I thought that was really fun. Those are some of the cool things that we're seeing. I know, Shatch, that answer was too long.
No, it wasn't too long. It was just, as usual, it was better. It was a better answer. And I'm so mad, I want to redo it. Now, all kidding aside, listen, I got to tell you, it's great stuff. We got to move on to a new segment, because I got to tell you something. I'm feeling a little Family Feud right now, Jimbo. And we got
always gets a new segment.
Banana. We did the food service feud in Dallas, and it was a huge hit. So we are bringing in the food service feud into the podcast each week. We go on to LinkedIn, and we throw out some great questions to operators. So we asked 100 real people on LinkedIn, real people. Maybe it was more than 100. Maybe it was 10 million.
No bots. 10 million. No bots.
10 million people on LinkedIn, okay? We asked them, okay, are you ready? Jeff, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is the top domestic airline?
Delta Airlines.
Jimbo, let me hear from you.
He didn't ding. He didn't buzz.
No,
he didn't buzz.
I didn't know. Jeff buzz.
That's right. I was stalling to let Jeff go first, but now I'm mad at myself because he gave the answer I would have given, particularly since we fly Delta. So I think I'm going to lose on this one. But to play the game, I'm going to say the favorite domestic airlines. I'm going Southwest.
Jimbo, not even on the board. Not even on the board. The number one answer was Delta Airlines. American came up, and by the way, it wasn't even close. Over 50% of people polled said Delta Airlines, then American, then United, then JetBlue. That is the food service feud today. All right, Jimbo, take it away.
I like it. I like it. Jeff, our crystal ball moment, we get to ask you to put on your Kreskin or Miss Cleo hat and predict the future, Jeff, how do you see restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to hospitality and technology?
I think there's going to be a divergence in those who really embrace hospitality and own it and make it unique and remarkable, and those that are purely transactional and just serving food items. So I think you're going to see a departure between that, and I think technology will be more rapidly embraced. To the conversation we had earlier, I think technology has always lagged behind in our industry. I go back to even looking at simple point of sale innovations. It wasn't until a number of years ago that we actually went to cloud-based POS systems. So I think the level of innovation that we have starting to see and that we will see in the next 2 years will eclipse the last 30 years combined. I think to another point you made, I think that there will be technology that enhances the guest experience and in a way actually trains the guest how to be empowered to improve their experience and in that process actually improve the labor efficiencies of restaurants. So I think there's an intersection coming very, very rapidly where the guest experience improves, labor goes down, we train the guest how to do our jobs, and they feel empowered and they feel like it's a better experience because they are in control of their dining experience. They're not waiting on a server to come to their table. They're empowered to order that other beverage or to modify something that they had sent into the kitchen. I think they'll be empowered to make more decisions.
Hey,
Man,
Shatsy.
do we agree?
Yeah, hey, Shatsy, by the way, in the spirit of your feud game, to Jeff's answer, I was supposed to say, boom, that was the top answer on the board.
Yeah, no question about it. I got to tell you, it kills me when I have discussions with people about restaurants and hospitality and food and beverage, and they say the food and beverage doesn't matter. It's about speed or how quick I'm like, what are you, nuts? I'm like, obviously, I don't want to wait 3 hours for my burger delivery, but if it's crap, I don't care if I get it in 3 minutes or 3 hours. If it's crap, I don't want it. And I love people like, oh, no one cares about the food as long as they get it in 15 minutes. I mean, what are you, crazy? That's not true. Expectations have to be met, and it has to be good. Anyway, I agree with you 100%. And listen, I'm going branded quickfire, Jimmy, because we don't have a lot of time on this podcast left. And let me tell you, we can't do a podcast without the number one rated podcast event. It's Nielsen ratings came out. The branded quickfire was the most listened to part of any podcast in the world. That is a fact, Jimmy. You check the numbers. I don't care who you ask. Jeff, are you ready? 5 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite burger topping?
Another patty. Double those guys up.
I love it. Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
I'm probably going to Torchy's Tacos tonight.
Ooh,
love Torchy's.
Love Torchy. That's some good stuff. What's your favorite food city in the world?
Oh, it's got to be Mexico City.
I agree, man. I got to tell you. Where's your favorite place to travel?
Anywhere in the mountains. Love the mountains.
All right. If you were to challenge Jimmy or I to a game of Jenga, who do you have better odds of beating? Look at how steady my hands are.
Yeah, Shatsy, I think by your personality and temperament, I think I have a better chance of beating you.
Yeah.
Why? Look at my hand.
Yeah.
I think it might be the attention deficit disorder. Not that isn't something we need to really spend more time and effort on, but I got to tell you,
energy level.
Yeah,
Wait,
I think you get bored. You'd yank out one of those sticks, and it come crumbling down. I got to agree with Jeff. My batting average remains very high. Very high. Listen, Jeff. We want to thank you so much for being part of the podcast and sharing really some great insights, not just about your company, but really about what other operators can learn from, the agility and kind of the way you guys adjusted to the headwinds and really the carnage that was thrown at you. So appreciate all of that. If you want to get in touch with Jeff directly, please email the podcast team at podcast@brandedstrategic.com, and we'd be happy to make the introduction. To our listeners, again, we can't continue to thank you enough for tuning in. Our subscription base, the clicks, the embracement of this podcast, season 8, continues to be fabulous, and we really do appreciate it. Please join us next week. We're going to welcome our guest, our friend, our partner, Rajat Bakari, CEO and founder of Incentivio, a white label and native delivery platform, guest engagement platform, digital marketing platform. It's really a special company. We can't wait for you to meet the CEO and our friend Rajat.
Jimbo, before we go, Jeff, if I want to get a Hopdoddy burger, how do I get one? What do I got to do right now?
Well, if you're anywhere close, one of our 50 locations in the South, I would recommend going in for an in-person dining experience. If not, you can always
How do I find out where the stores are? Is it hopdoddy.com?
Hopdoddy.com. It's
Everybody
a weird name.
Go
it's
to
memorable.
hopdoddy.com. And when you are down south, you got to stop in one of these stores. Craft beers, great burgers. Ask for Jeff's Way. They put another burger on top. That's Jeff style, right?
Jeff
Chandler's
style. By the way,
style.
Shatsy, I got one. Try this one. Who's your Dottie? Who's your Dottie?
Who's your Dottie?
Who's your Dottie?
Chandler's style.
That might be something that we take and run with. I appreciate that, Jimmy.
Take it, man. Take it. Give me a good beer the next time around we're together.
Just want to let you know that has been trademarked already. Who's your Dottie?
Not who's your Dottie.
I just trademarked it just now. Once Jeff said he liked it, I trademarked it.
That's Shat's a JIT guy. Jeff, sincerely, thank you so much. Appreciate spending time with you. Appreciate doing the podcast, and keep doing everything you're doing for the industry we love. So this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, signing off, passing it back to my boy Shatsy to close this out.
This is Shatsy, a.k.a. the restaurant guy, signing off the Hospitality Hangout. Thank you, Jeff from Hopdoddy. This was great. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.